Hello, my name's Mark from the EHP.com, and welcome to the first episode of Landlord and Tenant Stories. I'm just going to give a bit of an introduction to myself first. So I'm an EHP, which stands for Environmental Health Practitioner. Sometimes we're called Environmental Health Officers, as in EHOs. I specialise in private sector housing standards, and in a nutshell, the role of a housing EHP is to ensure that in the home environment, people can carry out their day-to-day lives without being exposed to unnecessary hazards. I'm going to use this video series to illustrate how I, as a housing EHP, would deal with a range of fictitious housing scenarios that I've created in the Assassin's Creed universe, which takes place in London in 1868. In this first scenario, I'm going to walk through how I would tackle a housing complaint which has been received by the tenants of the first floor flat of this building in front of us. And this building is actually found in the Strand, in the borough of the Strand, and it's right there where my character is, Evie Fry. So in this first episode, I'm gonna just outline the background to this particular story and the relevant legislation. And in later episodes, I'm going to analyse a number of issues with this particular flat and discuss the possible solutions at some point as well. So, first of all, let's talk about his complaint. Let's have a look at this property. So, it's a two-storey detached building which is connected to an adjoining building over there via a ramp at first floor level. Let's walk around. While there's no windows and doors in these buildings, I'm going to assume that there are windows and doors. In terms of the type of construction of this building, it's not easy to work this out, but I believe these are it's partially constructed of maybe stone blocks, which have been rendered because part of the rendering to the blocks are missing. And there's also quite a bit of timber used in the construction. You can see the overhang of the first floor level there, which is like a timber flooring. And from the inside of this building, you can actually see the underside of the first floor, which is timber flooring there as well. Timber ceiling to this particular room. Let's have a quick walk around the outside. So there's an outbuilding there. You can see that there's drainage, like a gutter up there. Right up there. And this is the boundary. Got the boundary fence. Let's jump over the fence. And now this is what the tenants are not happy with at all. Is to get to their flat, they access the flat because there's no staircase. Access this flat through that first floor window there, and to get to the first floor window, the landlord has, in his wisdom, is created a ramp. It's not even a staircase. He's created a ramp, which the tenants have to run up to grab onto that pole, and then get actually onto that platform at first floor level. This flat is actually occupied by three individuals. It's a man, his wife, and their 3-month-old son. So let's have a go at how they have to get up there. So they have to get a bit of momentum, run, they grab onto this pole, jump up, and then jump onto this platform here. And obviously the platform, there's no guard to it, so they're a bit worried about that, and there's big gaps in there as well. And if you look at how big the gaps are, if you think about how big her foot is, you know, the gaps in places are as wide as a foot, as long as a foot, I should say. So to get into this flat, they get through this window, and it's just one large open plan room. And you've got the bedroom area here. and you walk through to the living room area over here. There isn't a kitchen or a bathroom in here, but I'm going to assume that there is one because it's my scenario and I can make it what I want. So yeah, I'm assuming there is a bathroom and a kitchen in this room. You can look out the courtyard there, see a lady down there washing her clothes. Right. In terms of the type of accommodation, as in a type of construction, this you got the timber panelled floor, which is the top side of. I mean, when we was in the ground floor, you can actually see the underside of this flooring. The walls are made out of lath and plaster, and a lot of the plaster's actually just missing from the walls, and all the plaster's cracked. So it's not particularly a um, very nice room. And then you've got the timber. You got the beams to the ceiling there, and the timber panels which make up the ceiling. So this is the room. I'm just gonna yeah. And then you've got this platform which leads to this other adjoining building. Why it's there, I haven't got a clue. But sometimes that's what people do. They do weird things. So let's pop up to the roof. So on the roof, yeah, it's a slate tiled roof, which has a trap door to the roof space. There's a gutter to the roof. When I was down below, there isn't actually a. Let's get back up here. There isn't actually a downpipe, and the gutter doesn't go all the way to the end of the roof. And that's the same on both sides of the roof. And there's no stop end as well, so you can just imagine that the water will just be gushing out the edges of the roof because there's no downpipe. There's no felting to this roof either, and there's just exposed timber panelling, which the slates are laid directly on top of. Then you've got a flue here from a chimney. So let's drop down. Okay. So, right. So it's going to talk about the relevant legislation when dealing with complaints about properties which are occupied by, a single family. The legislation is found in Part 1 of the Housing Act 2004, and you mainly use a bit of a standard which is called the Housing Health and Safety Rating System, and we just call that the HHSRS. And these are HHSRS assessments. And the HHSRS assessments are used to evaluate potential risks to health and safety from any deficiencies in a particular property. So, for example, the fact that this building doesn't have a staircase and have to access it by a ramp, jumping onto a pole, onto a timber sort of platform, which is at first floor level, which doesn't have a guard, is a deficiency. Because you would normally expect, if someone wants to access their property, that they walk up a staircase and through a doorway, and again, they're climbing through a window. And just remember that this flat's occupied by a man, his wife, and their 3-month-old son. So that's a deficiency. And these HHS assessments, firstly, it's like a two-stage process. First, you consider the likelihood of something happening which could cause harm to an individual, and then you look at severity of the outcome. The severity of the outcome of that harm. So, to illustrate this, when the tenants are accessing this property, and just to clarify, the HHS assessments not only consider the potential harm to the occupants or potential occupants, it also takes into account their visitors. So, for example, if they've got family members coming around, if someone's delivering a post, if you've got workmen or anything like that. So when someone's looking to access this property, they've got to build up a bit of momentum. You got to run up here, grab onto the pole, and land onto this platform. Obviously, when you jump from that platform, jump from that pole to this platform, which doesn't have a guard, you can see that the gaps are quite large in between the um, the timber panels to the platform, make up the floor of the platform. So someone could fall, someone's foot could go through there. But also, there's no guard. So when someone comes up with some momentum, they could just go straight over the edge. So the likelihood of, because this is the only access to and from this flat, the likelihood of someone falling off this unguarded platform is very high. So if the likelihood of that happening over the next 12 months is almost certain someone's gonna either fall over the edge, or when they land here their foot's going to go through. So that's the likelihood of an occurrence that could cause harm is extremely high. Now we look at the severity of what would happen if someone was to fall. If they go over the edge, they're going to fall down there, which is probably about, I'd estimate probably about around a 3 meter fall. And when they fall down, if they've got a bit of momentum going, they could actually land on top of this, the roof of this, well, their face or some part of their body could collide with the edge of this, the roof of this structure here, and cause themselves a lot of harm. I suppose it's not unreasonable to foresee that someone could actually collide with the fence. If they didn't collide with the fence, fall onto the ground here, which is, it's just earth, probably got bits of stone in there, and or bits of debris, and people actually dumping stuff down here. So someone's going to do themselves a pretty nasty injury by falling off there. Now that's just an illustration of how you have to look at these things. What's the likelihood of someone falling from here? Oh, let me do that again. Get out of the way. What's the likelihood of someone falling from here when they're trying to get to this flat? Okay. So when we carry out HHSRS assessments, we're only really concerned with unnecessary and unavoidable hazards. This clearly is an unnecessary and avoidable hazard. We're not really concerned with, when you carry out the assessment, you're not really concerned with how easy it is to actually put this right, or how much it's going to cost. It literally is, you just do the assessment. This is the situation. This is what people have to, this is the access that the occupancy would have to negotiate. Just assess, the risk that the hazard this poses to the tenants. And we're actually only really concerned with matters and hazards which are actually responsibility of the owner of the property or the landlord. So this is just a quick, introduction to the first episode of Landlord and Tenant Stories. And in the next episodes, I'm just going to look in depth at the actual a number of hazards which this particular property poses. For example, the hazard of related to falling from this platform, and negotiating that ramp, and a number of other things. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, and if you like the video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.